Hi, my name is Kathy Hammond Lohman, and I'm here to talk. I've been invited by Olelo to talk a little bit about my track history and some things I'm doing with the seniors at the Kaimuki YMCA. I think I'll start a little bit just talking about my history, how I got started. Um, when I was in grade school, I was always very fast, and I would run against the boys and beat them. And we didn't have any track teams in junior high or elementary, junior high, or high school at that time. But when I was in 7th grade, the PE teacher got together a track team for two weeks. We practiced, and we went to a district meet. And I won a couple races there. So somebody told me about an amateur athletic team, an AAU team, that practiced out of one of the high schools. And I found out about this team. It was called Will Spikettes. And I learned that they had some really good nationally ranked runners. So being a little skinny 12-year-old, I was afraid to even go out and try out for it. So it took me a whole year till I went out. And I remember I went up to the coach, and he said, well, just go out and run about a mile around the track doing walk 110, run 110. I came back to him and I said, I'm done. And he goes, you're done already? So he kind of took me under his wing. And when I turned 14, he said, you're going to be the girls' national champion. I said I didn't even want to run a 440. A 440 is once around the track, like a sprint. And I'd been doing, short sprints in the age group division and had age group records for that. But so my second race, I ran a 400, hated it. The next race was the indoor nationals for women's that he put me in. And I placed 3rd in the women's. And then that's where I think when I really thought, okay, start thinking about Olympics even at that time. So I went to the outdoor nationals and I ran the girls, which is 14 through 17 years old. And I became the national champion. And so they invited me to a meet, which was an all-comers meet. And at that all-comers meet, all-American meet, not all-comers. It was an all-American meet. And it was just the people that placed like in the women's nationals. But because I was a girls champion, they invited me. And I beat the woman that got second in the women's nationals. So they made me a member of the U.S. team. So I was the youngest one at that time ever to make a U.S. team at age 14.
Now, you grew up in Sacramento. Is that where they started calling you a child prodigy?
Yes, because it was such a young age that I had started and was setting these records. And the Sacramento Bee, and at that time the Sacramento Union also, which is no longer in existence, but the Sacramento Bee is still there. They used to write up, every weekend would write up all my meets, and they were very supportive and got it out to my community, which was very supportive. I didn't have sponsorships or funding, back then before Title IX. And, the opportunities just weren't the same for women. And so we were having car washes and pancake sales, and the people in Sacramento, the Lions Club, the 2030 Club, Rotary and all really supported me and followed me in my track career. And my friends from grade school in Sacramento they're on Facebook with me, and they're just so excited I just came back from the Hall of Fame being inducted, and they're just following me, all through my life even now.
Now, you talked a little bit about Title IX. Can you explain that to me and how that came about?
Yeah, before 1972, like when I was running, there were no scholarships for women in track, in any sport. There weren't the scholarships at the colleges.
But there were scholarships for men?
Yeah, there were for men, but not for women, in the colleges. There were no high school track teams even for girls. Even when I went to my meets, most of the women's meets weren't televised. Our nationals and our Olympic trials were separate from the men, that's no longer the case. The only time the women were even televised was if it was an indoor, like an invitational meet, indoor, outdoor, and the men were running with us. So, it was just very unequal. And then 1972, the Equal Opportunity Amendment, Title IX, for, in education, any federally funded education system has to make it no discrimination between the sexes. So Patsy Mink, our congresswoman, was one of the main authors of that. And when she, in fact, when she passed away in 2002, after that, they renamed it to the Patsy T. Mink Equal Opportunity Education Act. She was a hero for women's sports and equality with women in education.
And your
Yes.
community helped you to get to the Olympics. Can you tell me how you got there and what you experienced?
Well, leading up to the Olympics, well, let me backtrack a little bit.
Please. Yes.
When I was 16, I had the fastest time in the world in the 400 and tied in the nation in the 200. And I was going to double, which might have been a little ambitious. And so I was up at a meet right before the nationals, and I pulled my hamstring muscle really bad. So being that I was like a national champion by that time in women's, not girls, but also women's at 16, they passed me through to the Olympic trials, but there just wasn't anything there. So the next year I came back when I was 17, went to Europe, beat the two that got first and second in the Mexico Olympics in '68, set 2 American records during that tour on the U.S. team. So that kind of set me on my way to build up for the next 4 years to the Munich Olympics. And so the year in Munich in 1972, I won all my races up to through the nationals, then to the Olympic trials, and won the Olympic trials, setting another American record. But I was 3 seconds ahead of the next person, and that's a lot in a 400. So the European Championships that year, which the women didn't go to for the U.S., all 5 finishers were within half a second. So it would have really helped the women's team if we had gone to that. But I had a very successful year, and at the Olympics, I got a bronze in my 400, a silver on the relay, and the 400 was a new American record. And on the relay, I ran a 49.2, which was the fastest ever run by a woman at that time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I hear you were awarded at the Night of Legends. Can you tell me about that evening?
Yeah, it was really exciting. When I got there, I walked in, and they had a bigger than life size poster of me. And so I was getting my picture, and everybody was getting pictures with me, the fans and some of the other, track runners that had been inducted before. And I saw the 1968 team was being awarded the Mexico, the one that I missed out on, but all the people I had been running with at the time. And so they were there being honored for their 50th anniversary. And there was a red carpet that my daughter and I, got our pictures on the red carpet. And then it was a big dinner. And what it was, I was sitting at the table, and all of a sudden they started talking about me. And then they had a big screen, and they had, all pictures from the time I was 14, an interview with my coach, Steve Linhart, who was my second coach, who coached me to the Olympics, and all kinds of pictures and videos, my world record, 600 indoors, my Olympic runs, that was all on that. And then, so they did all that. I went up and did my acceptance speech, and then they called us back later for our rings. So,
That's
yeah,
a
it was
beautiful
a
ring.
very, very
What
exciting
is the
night.
logo on your ring?
It's the USA Track and Field, so it's wings. It's like wings. And then it's like white gold with diamonds. So it's
My
very,
girls.
I love it.
So what are you doing now, Kathy?
Now I'm doing something I love. I work with the YMCA. How I got into it is excuse me, when I came to Hawaii, I moved over here about 29 years ago. And I finished my degree at UH Manoa, and it was in athletic training. So I had planned on, working in athletic training, but at my age, I didn't really want to be working at the schools level, and, spending that much time really with it. So I went and was working with a physical therapist, and I was doing this aquatic therapy. And while I was doing that, somebody said, well, would you like to teach classes? So I went to the Y to see how to teach group exercise classes. That was it. I had 19 classes a week.
My goodness.
Became a director at the Central Y, and now I'm back at where I started, the Kaimoki Y, and I teach senior classes, and I just love it.
What are you learning from your adult students?
They're an inspiration, especially the seniors. And Kaimoki has an older senior population at the Y. They have young too, but they do have a lot of seniors that live around there. And I have people in their 80s and their 90s that are so fit that you would not believe it. You'd think they were in their 60s, at the most, or 70s. And to see them going off their medications, like their arthritis medication or their high blood pressure medication, going off of walkers if they had started off with one, gaining strength, better balance, all this. And it's, that's rewarding to me. Plus it's inspiration thinking, if I keep this up, I'm going to be 90 or 100. I'm going to still be going strong.
That's fun. I've seen your classes. They look like a party.
Yeah, it is. I do. I try to make it, why it's really great because it's a real social community family, almost like you're all a family. And so I do theme, like every holiday I dress up, have music to go with the holiday. We have potlucks and different little, even when it's not a holiday, we'll have little potlucks maybe after the class. And I do theme music, country day, and they come dressed up country. And
Do you think someone who's sitting at home that's just watching TV doesn't feel like they have any energy? Do you think this would benefit someone to try?
yes, because if you're sitting, you're never going to have energy. If you get up and start exercising, you're going to have more stamina. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to do the things you love to do. If a lot of the seniors, they're become isolated because their spouse has passed away or something, coming to whether it's the Y or your community center or wherever it is where you're with people, and it becomes, you can make friends. A lot of my seniors, they go out to lunches. They know each other. I meet with some of the night classes and do things with them. So you build up this this network that you have. So you have friends, and you just feel better when you exercise. And as you get older, you lose muscle. So if you're exercising, you're going to keep that muscle too.
Wonderful.
So, and that means, well, it doesn't mean you're going to be a big bodybuilder. It means you're not going to fall. You're going to be able to move better. You're going to be able to have more energy to move better. I mentioned that I was afraid to go out, until a year later when I did my track. And I just want to say, don't be afraid. Go out and try things. I had failures, I pulled my muscle, I came back after that. You're going to have your ups and downs, and it's not always about the winning. It's, love what you're doing. Love what you're doing. The friends that you're going to meet, maybe the new places you're going to see when you do it, and use those failures to make yourself stronger, and use your accomplishments to be the best that you can. It's not maybe better than somebody else. You're not thinking that. It's being the best that you can be.
So what is your definition of champion?
Champion, I think, is somebody that, it's a lot of aspects. I think it's trying to be the best that you can be, to kind of celebrate the successes of other people, because, you are in a competition, but I was really good friends with the people I ran with off when we weren't competing against each other. And even when we were, we helped each other because we made each other better. So being able to share other people's successes, your own successes, help each other when one person's down and one person's up, because that happens in track a lot. Maybe one runner's better and the other one's down, and then it'll switch the other way. So you're in there for the fun of it. If you're not in there for the fun of it, you're going to burn out, quick. And so make it fun, get the most out of it that you can.
Thank you, Kathy. This is a wonderful interview. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Leslie.
You're welcome.